am going to the grocery store. December 14, 2007. Javier O Huerta is going with Maria in the yellow 74 VW Bug to the Safeway on Grand Avenue in Oakland, California. When I was young, my mother bought our groceries from Fiesta. She also bought our shoes and clothes there. Thinking back on it, I've always wanted to write a stand-up comedy routine to be performed in the voice of a Mexican Jeff Foxworthy. If your mother ever bought you tennis shoes from the same house she got the tortillas, you might be a mojado. Today, I'm going to the supermarket and buy what I need with my good looks. Last January, Maria and I walked approximately a mile around Lake Merritt to get to the Albertsons on 18th, and after buying our groceries, call for a taxi, which takes up to an hour. We learn not to buy ice cream or popsicles. Tonight, I will open my refrigerator and utter those wonderful words by John Keats. Oh, generous food. You may not know this line because critics have reduced Keats to the great odes. Recommendation, read his Robin Hood poems. Whenever I go back to Houston, I'll make sure to go to Fiesta on the corner of Bel Air and Hillcroft to get some elote from the elote man in the parking lot. Then I enter the store, not to buy anything, but to count the piñatas hanging from the ceiling. America, when would you be worthy of your 12 million and one Sancho Panzas? One morning before dawn, Huerta will walk with his wife to the 24-hour convenience store to buy some low-fat milk, and his biographers will mistakenly call this romance. After a month of depending on taxis, Maria and I realized that there are unofficial taxis that drive people around the lake for $5. A woman named Lorna loads our groceries into her station wagon. By the time she drops us off on the other side of the lake, we learn of her past on the East Coast and of her future in Texas. She does not tell us what she happens to be doing in Oakland. On Sundays, my mother always bought the Houston Chronicle for the coupons it carried. She put on her glasses and spent about 2 hours clipping. She needed my help reading the small print because she couldn't make it out no matter how much she squinted or how many times she adjusted her glasses. And she also needed my help translating the English words. She had a special pouch for them. Sundays always smelled like coupons. One November night in El Paso, I went to the supermarket and ran into Benjamin Ali de Sainz. You may not know who he is because Chicano boys remain for the most part unanthologized. He is my mentor and doesn't know that we call him El Cura. Recommendation, read his essay, I Want to Write an American Poem. The best time to go to the grocery store is late on a Saturday night because everyone must be doing something else. The only problem is that the shelves have not been restocked. We used to go dancing on Saturdays, says Maria. I grab her and we move to a cumbia beat down the canned food aisle. An Ethiopian woman delivers injera every afternoon to the corner store. She brings them in a minivan and unloads them herself. They sell, well, like hotcakes. Once, in Stafford, Texas, Paul and his brother Roy stole their mother's food stamps. We went to 7-Eleven and used up a month's worth of food stamps on junk food. The clerk should have known better. After a while, I left. They stayed behind playing video games. After I had been home for about half an hour, Roy and Paul's mother stormed into our apartment and startled my mother and me. She threatened to call the police. How in the world would she feed her daughters? The food stamps were all she had. I snitched and told her where Paul and Roy were. She called the police and had her sons arrested. My mother did not talk to me for a week. That was the first time I understood that even white people can be poor. Today I would notice that the supermarket has 14 aisles, and remember that a young poet I know told me she had written a Safeway sonnet. Not being able to recall the verses, I regret not having paid attention. I will wonder whether I will encounter her red hair as I turn into the 14th aisle. In the summer of 2006, Maria buys a red cart in Oakland's Chinatown. We are now able to walk around the lake to buy our groceries and carry them in our red cart. We realize that if we walk fast enough, we are able to enjoy ice cream and popsicles again. May 14, 2006, while I wait my turn at the checkout stand, Albertsons TV informs me that the poet Stanley Kunitz has died at the age of 100. One Wednesday evening in the fall of 7th semester, Matt, Ben, and I go to Andronicos in North Berkeley to purchase some wine and beer for the meeting of the Victorian Reading Group at Ruth's. I suggest we should take dessert, but Ben says someone else is already taking care of it. He is right. We have bonbons. They are good. Recommendation, read and scan Christina Grossetti's Goblin Market. Days of 1984, my mother would buy frozen everything: fish, fries, chicken patties, and pizza. She bought these items because they were easy to make. At the time, she worked in the kitchen at Luby's during the day, and in the evening worked in housekeeping at the Westin Galleria. I made dinners for my brother and me. It was easy. Place the fish sticks on a baking sheet and take them out when they were golden. My mother did not know that these items were high in trans fat and sodium. America. When will you learn that you will find no sweeter fat than sticks to your own bones? I learned early enough that there were two classes of people in Houston: those that shop at Randall's and those that shop at Fiesta. In fall of 2006, Maria and I learned about the Safeway on Grand, which means we do not have to walk around the lake anymore. Good. The joggers were beginning to be annoyed with us. If you want to, we can even take the AC Transit number 12 to the store. It is a new store, but the same system. Maria makes the grocery list, and I, paper and pencil in hand, make sure we stay on the budget. Today we're going to walk down to the bodega on the corner and buy some chips. Maria is learning Arabic from the clerk, Ahmad. So far she knows how to say hello, how are you, thank you, and farewell. I want her to ask him how to say, today I'm going to the grocery store. One day, I will step into a real-life Piggly Wiggly, and only then will I be able to write a truly American poem. Saturday morning, Maria and I are going to the Grand Lake Farmers Market. We will laugh when we see the peach stand next to the peach stand because it is clever. We will buy a bag of salad and be fascinated with the edible flowers. How is it that flowers can be so delicious to us? We decide that they are so because we are descended from dinosaurs. Once upon a time, George Bush I did not know the price of a gallon of milk. In Considerations for American Freiristas, Victor Villanueva Jr. discusses how one of his students works as a grocery checker. While his student drives a BMW, the GSI Villanueva must steal a car to get his groceries home. Huerta reads and presents on this article for his teaching methods class. He discovers pedagogy of the oppressed and becomes impassioned with Paulo Freire. His composition director notices the enthusiasm and advises him that one can practice liberatory pedagogy as long as one does not announce it too loudly. Wanting to emulate Villanueva, Huerta attempts to steal a grocery cart. But nowadays they have those smart carts. Those things lock up on you. Huerta does manage to grow out his hair and his beard. His biographers will mistakenly call this commitment. Today, I'm going to the grocery store to buy a 6-pack of V8. It is the first step in reconciling with my father. The one thing I remember the most about the day I first arrived in Houston from Mexico is that my aunts were at the grocery store. I asked my grandmother where my tia Pera was. She said she had gone to Fiesta. I misunderstood and thought she had gone to a party. I remember also one time when my youngest brother Saul and his friends were watching music videos, and Fiesta by R. Kelly came on. In the video, R. Kelly is at a party, and he and all his entourage chant, Fiesta, Fiesta. Then one of my brother's friends says, hey fool, sería más tight if they sing La Michoacana, La Michoacana. And we laughed. We started dancing and chanting La Michoacana. We could not stop laughing. It was a joke not meant for you. The day of my book release, the first one, Alejandro and I went to Long's to buy beer and wine for the party. We also needed forks but could only find sporks. In the end, we went with assorted cutlery. We made sure to get receipts so we could be reimbursed. It was a lovely party. Alejandro read, someone introduced me, and all my friends bought my book. Well, at the store, however, I was unsure whether you would show up. One day in the future, Reiko envisions, we will have to explain to our younger generations how we used to go to these places called supermarkets and exchange a piece of paper for our sustenance. That the world begins and ends at the grocery store is an absurdity that we can no longer afford. Tonight, Maria and I are going to shop for groceries online. While waiting for his family at the Fiesta on Main, Huerta enjoys a roasted elote when he notices the headlines of one of the local Houston area Spanish newspapers. Literato Mexicano Octavio Paz ha fallecido. The headline grabs Huerta's attention not because it announces the death of the Mexican Nobel laureate. To tell the truth, he had never heard of paz, but because the combination of literato mexicano sounds so strange to him. A Mexican man of letters. Huerta's biographers will mistakenly describe this moment as epiphany. In the next 2 moments, he reads every book by Paz that can be found in the stacks at the University of Houston's Anderson Library. Huerta will incorrectly conclude that Paz's prose is more poetic than his verse. At this time, he's not yet mature enough to comprehend Paz's poetry. One of his biographers will correctly claim that Huerta was never able to mature to the level of Paz. My first week in El Paso, Nancy gave me a ride to the MFA party at Lex's house. We stopped at Albertsons. I had never been to a writer's party before and didn't know what writers like. Nancy also had no idea. We decided on steak and a bottle of Merlot. During my second year in El Paso, feeling nostalgic for my earlier years, I buy all my shirts at the supermarket, which means I have to wear many Hawaiian-style shirts and a whole lot of polyester. Once in Stafford, Texas, I wish that grocery stores and supermarkets would carry my book. They could shove it next to the cereal because I want people to read my poems during breakfast. I could even give readings over in the produce section. I promise not to mention mangoes, pomegranates, or artichokes. Neighbors share the concerns that the new Whole Foods on Harrison and the new Trader Joe's on Lakeshore will cause rent increases. When Maria and I visit my mother, she takes us to H-E-B to buy whatever we may need or want during our stay. We get Diet Cokes, water, ice cream, and popsicles. We offer to pay. My mother would not have it. She pulls out money and coupons from her purse. Coupons have always smelled like Sundays. December 14, 2007. Maria and I are going to the grocery store in our yellow VW Bug. When we load and unload our groceries, people stare at us because Lebet, the beast, that is what we have named our car, has his trunk in the front. People think our car has broken down. Some even offer assistance.